Let's pull up cut 3 here and we'll get into it.
All right, so we're going to switch topics. Something that is part of the reason, probably the major reason that young people are super disaffected right now, and I think Dalton would probably agree with me that it's at least a top 3 issue, if not a number 1 issue. Um, and here, this one from Newsweek: Marjorie Taylor Greene floats bill to end H-1B visas. And so for those of you that don't know really what an H-1B visa is, and I can look up the true proper definition so I don't butcher it, but an H-1B visa is basically a visa for a foreign immigrant to come here and get educated, or a foreign immigrant. I mean, a little redundant here. I'm fine. I'll give you the true definition. H-1B visa is a non-immigrant work visa that allows U.S. employers to temporarily employ foreign workers in specialty occupations that typically require a bachelor's degree or higher. It's typically to help employers fill positions that require specialized knowledge and skills that are not readily available in the U.S. workforce. So I was going to get there, but it's basically that they pay for people to come here to go to school, and then they either have those people go back to their country and work remotely here, or stay here and work. Or a lot of times those people don't even get degrees from the United States. They get degrees from like India, Perth, and so a lot of times don't even get degrees, by the way, because to validate these degrees, only about 2% of them are validated every single year in the United States. They get degrees at India, Perth, or wherever they're located, and then they just either come over here or work remotely on high tech jobs. Like they're your cybersecurity engineer type people.
And
And
your doctors now.
yeah, and a lot of doctors, to be quite frank with you, and that is something that I'm obviously in favor of banning, because those jobs, to me, could easily be filled by Americans. I think that there are plenty of Americans that are, one, not fulfilling their potential, but I think, two, there are plenty of Americans that are fulfilling their potential, that are fighting for jobs that are being filled by immigrants, being filled by people that aren't in this country, simply because companies are getting that job in other countries for much cheaper. They can pay Dalton $120,000 to do that job, or they can pay Prajit $62,000 a year to do that job.
Baljeet.
Baljit, yes.
Um,
Hello, my name is Prashit. I am calling from Tiva Pharmaceutical. So these people are calling every single day, and from specialized positions, making half the pay that you would make in that position. And the way that these companies get around it is that they'll post the job on some specialized job. Everybody's using Indeed and ZipRecruiter, your big job boards. They'll post it on some like third, fourth party job board that nobody's ever heard of, and say, "Oh, we didn't get any American bites that were good enough. We didn't get any Daltons. We didn't get any A+ shiners. So we have to go to these Indian candidates and hire them." And that's how they get away with it. And they do that
it's even worse than that,
over and
though.
over and over, robbing Americans of jobs.
It's even worse. I have 2 main points. The first point is we have the people we've just been lied to for the last 30 years, and we've been subsidizing getting absolute nonsense bullshit degrees that don't mean anything, and now we have the majority of people not the majority, but a large portion of the people that are still in the workforce are doing nonsense jobs that are low skilled, even though they went to college. And it's like, if we stopped incentivizing getting nonsense degrees, and we're like, hey, we're gonna the student loans and the grants that you get, they're only going to go if you get a job that can pay them back. So that means you have to be a specialized position. Unfortunately, our government wants to push communism, and they've been paying for basket weaving and general studies degrees. And now people are $200,000 in debt and don't have a good paying job to make up for that. And they're doing Uber on the side. And we're importing immigrants to take these jobs that we otherwise should have been training our own people to do. And instead of Trump saying, we're going to take this money and only fund the specialized positions that we need, we're going to start really focusing on that and building up our industry here. He's saying, no, screw all you people that are either unemployed or have a crap job. We're going to bring in other people to do these jobs while you can't afford to buy a home or raise a family or do anything that you need to do. Even if you do have a good job, or just, money printer go burr. And we're gonna be just spending all of our money overseas without spending any here, and we're gonna be importing people to come do the jobs that Americans should be doing. And it's a double-edged sword, because they're not deporting the lower skilled workers that are taking the regular jobs. So people are coming in and doing the same job for half the price at the lower end of the skill level, and now they're paying for over 120,000 higher skilled labor people to come in and take high skilled labor jobs, or high skilled labor jobs. So it's like at both sides, we're getting screwed. It's like it used to be if you tried to get a skill and you walked up the ladder, you were safe because most of the illegal immigration was low skill, like farm work or labor or construction, like labor work, stuff like that. And if you had a skill, you were good. Now you're screwed on both ends. You're screwed on the lower skilled labor side and you're screwed on the specialty side. So it's like, I don't understand. I understand it if it's like we need to build these industries immediately, so we need to bring in people that know what they're doing and train our own people to do these things. Hurry up and train people.
Hold your tongue
but
on
I don't
that,
think that's what it is. All right, I'll say
that's going to get wrapped into the next cut. But I do want to touch up on kind of one thing that you said there in the beginning.
Okay, I have another point, but go ahead first.
Yes. So you had mentioned that like people have to do Uber on the side and stuff, but like even those jobs are being taken by immigrants, possibly illegal immigrants largely. But I've said on this show before, and I think you would actually agree with me. And I think many like young conservatives are now so defunct and so defected by like what these policies have been for at least the last 10 years that we even want to choke off legal immigration. There's too much immigration.
We need to deport people and stop letting people in.
Yeah, the conversation has been warped around illegal immigration. Yes, Biden let in lots of illegal immigration. How many legal immigrants have been let into this country over the last 20 years? Way too fucking many.
Yeah.
Way too many that are robbing your job. They're robbing your culture. They're pushing white people out. This is why DEI exists. We've got to make room for Muslims. We've got to make room for Jews. We've got to make room for black women. We have to make room for everybody except for white men. That's what we have to do. And that's why the white men are getting so disaffected and upset right now. And I don't think a lot of people can actually grasp onto this. And I don't mean to continue to go back and back and back on basically our dad's generations, but that's kind of where I think that they'll never quite understand because they worked hard. Our parents, both of our dads worked very, very hard to get to the positions that they're in now, raise the family that they did. But they never had to fight for jobs the way that we do against Muslims and black women and be a secondary candidate just because we're white men, white straight men. They never had to do that, unfortunately. And that's something that really just corrupted the culture because we're not an meritocracy anymore. And the DEI, you can say that it's rolled back, but it's really not. And maybe companies here and there are starting to realize that like, hey, maybe that was a mistake, but I don't think overall it's really being rolled back despite even the massive policy changes. And that's why we're so upset about this. We've had to be 2 times the candidate as a black woman to get the same position. Just so everybody's clear, I don't hate black people. But if you continue to push these policies on me, it's going to push a lot of white young men to be. That's how we've gotten to the point where Kanye could make a song like Hail Hitler, and it could be a top charted song. And white men are like walking around bumping this on their speakers. You did this to them. You did this to them with these policies, just so everybody's on the same page. White young men were not walking around 20 years ago, bumping Hail Hitler on their speakers. The reason that this became popular is because you pushed white men into a corner.
Because of the Jews.
Consistently and over. And I don't think a lot of white men are actually on a personal level hating Jews or hating women or hating blacks. It just appears that way because you push them into a corner. And to wrap up the point, to go back to where I started it, now I don't even know that I could get an Uber position because Indians and Mexicans and Cubans in South Florida have taken all the Uber positions. They've taken all the Uber Eats positions. They've taken all the taxi driver positions and the medevac positions. I don't even know that I could get an emergency type job if I needed to because they're all taken by immigrants.
Yes. I forgot what my second point was.
I'm sorry.
You rambled for 10 minutes.
I'm sorry that I took so
long.
That one was from the heart.
Let me try to think. I had a good point. So it was we have workers and we're not training them, and
we can pull up that second cut.
Yeah,
that's where you were.
Let's
that's where you were going towards. It might revive that point. I'm sorry I took so long, but that one was from the heart.
We going ready?
I'm going to preface it really quick. This one actually really pissed me off. And it probably pissed Dalton off too, and it probably pissed off lots of Americans. This is Trump on Laura Ingram's show, and this is like a minute long cut of her kind of pressing him on the H-1B visa system, and he's basically saying that Americans are not skilled enough to finish and take over that labor.
Does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent.
When we have plenty of talented people
here.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
Well, I'll give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
It kind of does.
That's pretty much all you need to say. And all I have to say about this, and then you can have the floor, and maybe you'll bring up something that will kind of spark some more in me. But all I have to say about this is he just insulted American workers. And not only that, he assaulted Americans that are down on their luck and need motivation. I genuinely do think that there's plenty of Americans on the unemployment line that could easily be taught, that could easily be trained to do at least medium skilled labor. You know, I'm not saying that they can do high skilled labor, but they can do low and medium skilled labor very easily. And there are plenty of these jobs that are literally just being swarmed and taken over by immigrants.
And they're paying to bring them in.
That was akin to Hillary Clinton calling all of your voters Donald Trump deplorables. So, by the way,
this is
so you're on the same page.
This is what I was going to say. Is I posted a clip yesterday or 2 days ago where I popped on, gave that clip, and said this is just as bad, if not worse, because we voted for this guy. Like, we don't expect anything out of Hillary Clinton. We expect the world out of Donald Trump, and for us to vote for him, and for him to say, hey, guess what, we're gonna, you people that voted for me, fuck you, we're gonna import people to take all the jobs that we need. That's what he just said. And he said we're not gonna deport the people, pretty much we're not gonna deport the people that came in either. So
yeah,
so you're screwed.
And I'm not going to sit here, and there's a clip of Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of making that point, but I think people attacked her wrongly in that point, because the point she was making is, and I should have clipped it. She was saying something similar, but she said it way less abrasively than Trump. She said that we can't just deport these people basically without having a plan. You know, you can't deport all of these people that are in medium skilled jobs that are actually in the middle of a supply chain, can't deport them without having replacements. And I agree with that. Because then who's going to, how are you going to get your Duracell batteries? How are you going to
I don't care. I literally don't care.
You know what? I actually don't.
Get rid of them.
I'm playing the other side.
I'm
playing the other side because I think the key issue here is that we don't really have a plan to actually get Americans jobs. We don't. And that's the big issue, is that we can deport all these people, but at the end of the day, we still don't have a plan to get Americans jobs.
If we're relying on illegal immigrants, we're done. We're done. If our country is relying on illegal immigrants and we can't get rid of them because we don't have a plan, we're infiltrated. We're not America anymore. If we're relying on illegals, like, let's face it.
Just to clarify my position, I still think deport, and I still think choke off legal immigration as well. We have way too many immigrants in this country. And that's certainly going to be the first prong attack to making Americans, proper workers again, of course. But I do somewhat agree with the sentiment that Americans need to be trained more properly. The primary education system is an absolute joke. And I'm not going to get into education system being a joke, but I think for another time, and we have talked about it on the show, most Americans, and I don't mean this, are kind of retarded. But I think most of Americans could easily be trained to do medium and low skill labor, which is where a lot of the immigrants are.
The problem is the people are incentivized to stay home and not do anything. They're getting paid to sit on their asses. And when a job pops up, they literally didn't do anything their whole life, so they don't have any skill because they sat on their ass and did unemployment for a while and went to college for basket weaving, and now they have no options because
that too, for sure.
Because they're not going to work. They want a high wage because they went to college and got all this debt, so they're not going to work for this cheap wage when they bring in the illegals doing the farm work and all this stuff. And they also don't have a skill to do the higher wage, high skilled stuff. So you have a portion of people that just need to be trained to do a high skilled job, and they'll take it over. Like, it's not that hard. It's these people. It's like, sure, are a lot of people kind of misled? I would say that is a better way to put it than people are dumb. I think, sure, there's a lot of people that are lower on the IQ ladder, but I wouldn't even say that that's necessarily that even really means anything, because a lot of people that are actually successful really didn't go to college or didn't do a lot of school. So I think the problem is that a lot of people are putting it's more of an entitlement and a responsibility issue than it is an intelligence issue. I think it's people, we've grown up in a society that tells you that you should only do the things you want to do, and that you shouldn't have to do anything hard, that you shouldn't have to work hard for what you want, that you should just be given everything, and you should just get a try hard or a participation trophy and all these things. And people just don't want to work. They don't want to do anything because they've been taught their entire lives that it doesn't pay. So it's not worth doing it. And that is, unfortunately, with that mentality, it is true, because there is no opportunity, especially when our government is importing all of these people to take all these jobs. There is no opportunity. There's
no incentive to make American workers to be good when you know that you could, instead of hiring Dalton at $30 an hour, you can hire Prashit at 18. You know, there's no incentive to make the American workers somebody that's actually a valuable worker, and that starts at a young age, even because there's no value in even teaching kids how to read if we're just going to import people from India and China and Mongolia and all these places. You know, like, I remember my second
point ties into this.
Yeah. Please.
So the second point I had
and then we have some chats.
Yeah, the second point I had was the whole reason for the tariffs was to drive the manufacturing back to America so American workers could get jobs. If we're just going to be importing people to take these jobs, what does it matter? Like, it's all for nothing. Go ahead. Let's hear the chats.
No, it's all from Teabag and Tag. Mm. So he says, not true, Tyler. When I graduated from high school, I had been running my father's equipment since I was 13. And when I tried to get a job in construction, I couldn't because they had to hire blacks regardless of experience. And then I asked him, do you think it was worse then or now? And he said, well, probably now, because they're hiring illegals, so they are paying them less, no healthcare, no unemployment, no disability.
It's even bad for the blacks.
I said, I guess it's unfair of me to assume how I know that things were then, but I think that things are just like absurdly in your face ridiculous now. So I'm not going to say that it wasn't that way then, because I'll assume, based on your age, I'll assume roughly 40 years ago. So I'll assume 1985. That very well could have been the case. But it like somehow when we were young kids, really, like you and I, when we were 10 years older. So we really just dialed up and just became in your fucking face.
Yeah,
like,
79 was when
the
Department of Education.
Women. We have to hire these people. And then people were like, well, the Civil Rights Act of 1967 says this, says this, says this. It doesn't. It doesn't say that you should hire people just because they are darker.
It says the opposite, actually. It says you shouldn't dissuade from people because of their skin color. It doesn't say you should have to hire people because of their skin color.
And that's exactly why the Supreme Court struck it down. And yet I still don't think that really colleges, I really don't think that jobs and companies are taking that in. It's the culture is just completely infected. And maybe it started back when
79.
Tag, you had 19. Is that when he graduated high school?
No, 79 was that was when the Department of Education was created, and that was the big push for the racial stuff, for forcing people in because of their race and stuff like that.
Yeah, we should have never let him into our schools.
Should be.
No, I'm obviously joking, but you know, when it comes to like that, maybe it started then, you know, and I'm with you, Tag. Like, It's been a problem for a goddamn long time in this country. And I'm sorry to use the Lord's name in vain, but that's just the way that I feel about it. It's been a huge problem for so fucking long in this country that young men who work their absolute tailbones off are getting back-ended in this country. And it's causing them to say and do things that are out of line with reality sometimes, because you've pushed us into a direction where we need to be a little bit extra to make our own niche. You've done this to us. We're high quality candidates, tons of us. And I'm not even speaking on me personally, because I'm in a fine position. I ended up getting myself, and I feel that, Dalton, you've put yourself into a fine position, but it was not easy getting there. Had it been a little bit different, had I been a half black, to be honest with you, it might have been a lot easier. And that's the way that our culture just eroded and skipped away. Had I been an immigrant, you better believe that I would have had a job, no problem. I might not, or getting through school, by the way. Lots of immigrants in my school that I graduated with that are now pharmacists, that are now doctors of pharmacy. Lots of them kind of skidded along the bottom of the barrel there and still made it through, because that's the way the cookie crumbles these days, man. I don't even mean to be so abrasive. That's just the way that reality exists right now. And anybody that's not willing to hear this, it's just the way it is. Things will never be the same,
This is the problem, though. With
and
all
if you're
this
not willing to
leading
hear
up.
that, by the way, I'm sorry, you just don't live in reality. There's plenty of people that have it laid out for them and are like not willing. By the way, if you don't want to talk about politics, pretending that it doesn't affect your life anymore, you need to wake up. You're not a freshman in high school anymore. It does affect your life, big time. So when people are talking about politics and you walk out of if you're one of those people that walks out of the room or says, I'm going to abstain from this argument, you're not a freshman in high school anymore. It's time to grow up.
You are the reason why our country is in the predicament it's in. All right,
Yeah,
you ready to move on, sir?
Tag says 1982. Sorry, I didn't realize you were that
82
old.
is when he graduated.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize that you were 116 years old. My bad.
I think his famous line is he was 6 years old he's 6 years older than dirt or something like that, or he's 6 years older than Christ, or I forget what his saying is.
You don't look a day over 100, Tag.
All right, you ready to move on to number 5?
Yeah, and this is just to wrap it up. So the people that don't think it's that bad, this is kind of just a snippet of some stats. So there's no official data that gives out the total number of H-1B visa holders in the U.S. at any given time. The United States Citizenship and Immigration Services data tells the number of people who have registered and how many were selected. For example, in 2024, there were a total of 780,884 registrations, of which 758,994 were eligible. Ultimately, 188,400 were selected as United States Citizenship and Immigration Services data. However, as per FWD.US, there are a total of as many as 730,000 H-1B visa holders in the U.S. currently. This report from January 2025. FWD.US is an immigration and criminal justice reform advocacy organization co-founded by Mark Zuckerberg. This report continues that there would be an additional 550,000 dependent spouses and children, in total around 1.3 million U.S. residents from those U.S. holders. So of there's 750,000 H-1B visa holders. Basically, 65% of them also have like a wife and kids. So there's 1.3 million H-1B
USBs.
U.S. holders, USB ports. Indians make up the largest share of H-1B holders in the U.S., accounting for 70% of the total. That's why when you get a call from Progressive Insurance, it is Rashid asking for your account information. And I'm done joking here, but like they even note here that the official data, there's no official data that gives out the total number of H-1B visa holders at the U.S. at any given point of time. And then the United States USCIS data tells the number of people who have registered and how many were selected. There were a total of 780,000 registrations. That's how many registrations there were. That doesn't tell you how many people overstayed their visa and are now illegal. That doesn't tell you how many people never really registered and are just working for companies illegally. So I'm willing to bet that number approaches 5 million, if we were to be frank with each other. Do I have any evidence to support that? No. Do I need evidence? No. There's literally go outside of your community and talk to people in the grocery store. If you live in somewhere that you think used to be 100% white people, go talk to somebody at your local Walmart now. 33% of them don't even speak a word of English. Go somewhere where I live now. You can go to like Miami. Go to Miami. Literally 50% of the people that live in Miami don't speak a word of English. There's even places north of Miami, like what's the next big city north of Miami? I'll say Fort Myers and Cape Coral. That area. Go to that area. 70% of the people in any given establishment literally just don't speak a word of English. Even where I live, it's a good 30, 40, 50% of people you bump into may not speak English, whether it's Mexicans or Cubans in my area. This is a huge problem in this country, and it's never going to get addressed properly.
Listen, I'm at the point where I think we need to deport all 40 million illegals and most of the legal ones too.
Oh, Tag says years older than Christ. What a party! The man could turn water into wine, and was it mighty fine wine?
It was the best, actually.
Yeah, well,
that's what the guy said.
Tonight he turned water into Sam Adams Winter Lager, which has a cinnamon hint, which I don't particularly like cinnamon that much, to be honest. I'm like one of the few Americans that don't like cinnamon.
Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the things. Comment down below if you think we need more immigrants in this country. All right. You ready to move on to number 7?
I'm commenting right now. Yes, we need 80 million more immigrants.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think she's great.
I got it.
I moved. All right. You ready to do you need to preface number 6? Or do you want to pop it up?